Well, we're live.
I guess we are.
We debuted another film today on...
Was it Wiener Kill?
It was Wiener Kill. What'd you think of Wiener Kill?
It made me laugh so hard.
I've watched it like 10 times and I keep laughing. I don't know why it's so funny.
I
but
don't
it's
know.
really
But at
funny.
first, like, it was like really shocking. Like the language is like really.
I put viewer discretion advised. I figured I had to. And I didn't monetize it. I didn't want YouTube to get mad. What are you gonna do? What if
Wiener Kill.
Wiener Kill? I'm certainly enjoying getting these movies.
It's
That's
fun.
a lot of fun. And you know, you're officially one of the co-presenters of this film festival. You're going out on the press release
Yay!
as the ace. So like you're officially the ace. So there you go. So you've never seen this movie before?
Never.
Never. Had you seen any of the Nightmare sequels?
No, never.
You've never seen any? How can that be?
No.
I know
never. I didn't watch horror.
Still. I just.
Plus, I was pretty young in '84. There's no way I was going to see that film.
Oh well, that's true. I could see that. Well, we're going to talk about whether you liked it or not.
I guess we will.
Well, you know, it's kind of a classic.
Yes, it is.
Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, and your sommelier of cinema. And I am here with my cohort in crime. Who are you?
Elizabeth Gwendolyn Bell. I am the ace, the arbiter of cinematic excellence.
And the enchantress of entertainment.
You
How's that for timing?
You always take a breath to say something.
Well, but I don't know. I got to prepare. Like, you look at me and I don't know if I'm supposed to like jump in. I don't want to like.
Every time after I finish saying that, you take a breath, and I'm like, and the enchantress of entertainment.
Well, I don't know if I don't want to step on your lines. I don't want to be like that guy. I don't want to do that. So tonight we have another Pinot Noir.
Yes, we do.
This Pinot Noir is Scotto from this family cellars, the Scotto family cellars.
Cool.
From 2019. Now, is this a Trader Joe's special?
It is.
All right. Well, let's show the label. That's what we're drinking. Scotto Pinot Noir. Why don't you hand me your wine glass? There you go, Missy. You know we love our Pinot. Did you notice that I put my I voted sticker on my microphone?
I haven't voted yet.
Well, you have it. You've got your ballot.
We usually vote together, so I was surprised.
Well, I actually haven't, to be honest, I haven't filled out my ballot yet.
Oh.
We
You just stuck the sticker on your microphone.
Yeah, we can still vote together. I opened my ballot.
But you haven't really
I haven't
voted.
really voted. But I looked at my ballot, and I know what I'm going to put in, but you got mad, so I didn't fill it out.
Well, I wouldn't say I got mad.
So we'll do it together.
I was disappointed.
You were just, well, I have not voted officially. Okay. So we can still do it together. So we're going to drink to Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street. Wes Craven, the director, achieved some prominence when he directed Last House on the Left, which is a very vicious rape revenge film.
Oh.
Where these parents get revenge on the rape and murder of their daughter. It's pretty brutal. But Vietnam-era horror film. But then, of course,
So he made that first, and then...
Yes, and he made other movies like The Hills Have Eyes, the original Hills Have Eyes.
I haven't seen that.
And then this was his foray into... What I like about this movie is it kind of comes on the tail end of the slasher genre. I mean, that really began... Well, you could say it began with Psycho, but in terms of 70s, it was like Black Christmas started the Psycho craze. Then you had Halloween and everything from The Prowler to The Burning to Don't Go in the House. I mean, Terror Train, Happy Birthday to Me.
I don't know any of those.
Prom Night. Well, what was really great, I thought, about this particular movie was it took overt fantasy, supernatural elements and added them to the slasher mix. I mean, I wouldn't consider Freddy Krueger a slasher per se, even though he does.
Right.
But it's a much more complex.
Yes, I agree with that statement.
You know, there's a lot going on.
Shall we try our wine?
Why don't we try our wine? So let's drink to Wes Craven's 1984, the movie that started it all, A Nightmare on Elm Street. And as you pointed out, it's not Nightmare on Elm Street, it's A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
So, That's good. So this movie begins with a credit sequence where we see a faceless. We don't see who's doing this, but a man in a boiler room is forging
Yes.
his glove with blades on it on all of his fingers.
Yes.
He's using all kinds of different techniques. It's kind of a great contraption, actually. I don't know,
Yeah.
you know, in practice, if he wasn't in the dream realm, how well it would actually work. But
Well, I have a great picture of myself with my hand in the glove when we went to the I Love Halloween or I Love Scary Movies,
oh right,
and we took all those pictures.
that was awesome.
That
The
was
I Love
so-
Scary Movies display, that was so cool.
It was so fun.
We got the best pictures there.
Yep.
The famous Freddy's famous glove being forged. What happens?
So then we see what happens. Is it Tina?
Tina, it's Tina. Yes, it is Tina.
Tina is she already dreaming? I don't remember exactly how it starts.
Well, she's being chased around the boiler room as well. She's being chased.
Oh right, that's how it starts. with
That's how it
her
starts.
in the
After
boiler
the
room.
forging of the glove.
Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah. She's in a little white nightgown, running around the boiler room, and he's like coming after her.
Mhm. And I think this is it begins the surreal nature of these
Yeah.
movies, and that's one of the reasons I think of all the long running series like Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this is probably my favorite because there's always more going on. They're always so much fun to watch, and these five, the Dream Child, because my art department on Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 had literally just wrapped up doing Dream Child, so I worked a couple days clearing the set. The movie was done shooting, but I had to take whatever I could take from the set. I got to take to Leatherface.
Oh, very cool.
So yes, I was on the set, but I did get to watch some of it being filmed.
Really?
Oh, it was amazing, like the motorcycle sequence and stuff. So yeah,
Well, I haven't
that's
seen
how
this one.
old I am.
He corners her basically, and she screams and wakes up, and her mother comes into her room, and there's like tears in her nightgown.
The dream became reality.
Yes, which was very, very scary to me.
It was very, very. You better lock your door.
Nightmares,
5-6, grab your crucifix. 7-8, gonna stay up late. Did you remember the rhyme? The nursery rhyme? The Freddy rhyme?
No, it's too creepy. See, that kind of stuff creeps me out.
You
And
were
I had a lot of nightmares when I was young.
you were
and
creeped
so-
out by this movie.
Yeah, it was when it's about dreams and nightmares coming to life, like that freaking scares me.
He becomes more humorous as the series goes on.
Yeah.
He becomes more wisecracking. But in this, he's definitely played not for laughs, but as a malevolent entity that's going to come get you with
Yeah.
his burned up, shrunken apple head.
Yeah, why is his head so small?
Well, I don't think his head's. I meant it's no, his head's not. No.
His head does look small.
And Freddy Krueger in his signature green and red
Green and red, his
sweater,
Christmas
his
sweater.
Christmas sweater, and so yeah, but all the parents seem like they're drugged to the gills.
Yeah, what the hell is wrong
All the
with
mothers
these
are like,
parents?
hey, you know,
It's okay, just go back to sleep. Even though I witnessed that you had a nightmare and it came alive, go back to sleep.
Yeah, and then of course one of the great throwaway moments, like this greasy mother's boyfriend. Comes you coming back
gross.
to bed? You know, it's just a great little moment to just add to the like worthlessness of the parents. They're
Right?
clueless.
They're so clueless.
They might as well be Peanuts parents going wah 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 wah.
Well,
wah.
yeah. Yeah, but all of this is happening because of the parents.
Well, spoiler alert. That's true.
Well, I didn't really spoil it.
No, it's true because it is 36 years old.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Plus, I didn't
36
say
years
exactly
old.
what the parents did.
No. So then Tina
Okay.
Goes
so
to school.
Tina goes to school and she's really disturbed about her nightmare, so she tells her friends about the nightmare.
And what's great is that we go to the John Hughes High School movie, but it's not. It's before Breakfast Club. Same year as 16 Candles came out. So and there's a lot of high school movies coming out this time, and it seems like your typical high school. Introducing in this scene, by the way, who does it introduce?
Johnny Depp.
Young Johnny Depp.
I didn't even recognize him.
He looks sweet, young, and innocent.
Yes.
He looks like he's about 12.
Yeah. Yeah. So did all of them. They looked really young.
And Tina's best friend, Nancy, played by the great Heather Langenkamp.
Yes, Nancy.
And what I love about her is that she's cute, but she's very distinct looking.
Yeah.
She doesn't look like the generic hot high school girls now.
Right.
She has a very unique look and a very interesting
she
demeanor.
Like the rest of us.
She looked like the rest of us. And I think even Johnny Depp, who is he's a handsome kid, Tina, Johnny Depp, who plays Glenn, Heather Langenkamp, who plays Nancy, they look normal until we get to Nick. Was it Nick?
No, it's not Nick.
No,
it's
Nick.
Ron.
Nick plays Rod.
Rod.
Yeah, Rod is like the handsome, muscle-head Italian handsome dude in leather, the bad boy.
Yeah, he doesn't seem very bright.
No, he's not bright, but he's a handsome guy. He could be a model. Handsome dude.
Okay.
Tina's boyfriend.
Tina's boyfriend, who she's upset with at the moment.
Yeah, he's a douche canoe.
Yeah, he's a douche. And so she tells her friends about her dream, and Nancy kind of says, well, I kind of had a bad dream too, but she doesn't make a big deal about it.
But after talking, they realize they've dreamt the same thing.
Right. Later on that evening, they're together because Tina's mom is gone with her boyfriend.
Gone with her boyfriend, so they're all hanging out.
So they're hanging out because Tina's freaked out to go, to be alone. So they're hanging out, her, Nancy, and Glenn. And they're talking about the nightmare, and they figure out that they're having the same dream.
On the same dream.
And Glenn doesn't think that's possible.
Glenn says that's impossible. Glenn is the skeptical, innocent boyfriend.
He is. He's a good boy.
Who has one of the great deaths in all of cinema history. But we'll get there.
He does. Spoiler.
Spoiler alert, Glenn is not going to make it to the end of this movie. When it says in the opening credits, introducing Johnny Depp.
But we don't know. We don't really know.
Well, that's right. You're right. We really don't know. Along with Phantasm and Carrie. Well, anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there. So of course, then Rod shows up.
Rod shows up.
Because when the parents are away, the mice will play.
Right. Well, they freak each other out, and they hear something outside, so they go out into the backyard, and then it's Ron. Ron comes and tackles Glenn.
Rod tackles Glenn.
And so then he's like, Tina, let's go, get it on.
Let's go get it on. And they do.
And Glenn thinks, oh, well, maybe I could get it on with Nancy. But no.
Glenn is blocked. They sleep in separate rooms.
They do.
Nancy's a good girl.
Yeah.
Nancy and Glenn sleep in separate rooms, but then what happens?
Okay, so Tina and Rod are asleep by now.
After Tina's been rotted by Rod.
Yeah.
So, what happens?
So she falls asleep. They're both asleep. And but you don't, you know that, but you don't know that because the next thing you know, she hears a noise at the window and she looks out and there's rocks being thrown at her window and one actually breaks the window. And so she tries to wake up Rod and he doesn't wake up, so she goes outside. Who would do that? If somebody were throwing rocks at your window, would you go outside?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because they don't know they're in a horror movie. So maybe it's a friend of theirs.
In real life.
If someone's throwing rocks at my window, that means there's somebody out there pitching rocks at my window.
If you had a nightmare the night before, and then somebody's throwing rocks at your window, you wouldn't be afraid to go outside?
Why would I yet be afraid of a nightmare? I don't yet know what's in store for me.
No, it's just the feeling of being scared.
I
don't know. I would not. I would be hiding under the covers.
So Tina goes out, and what does she discover?
Tina goes out, and she hears her name being called. I would have run inside.
Well, and it's Freddy Krueger. I mean, you can speed it up a little bit. She goes outside.
Try to be suspenseful.
I think, well, like you said, people know. Has
everyone watched this movie?
Every single person.
Am I the only one?
You're the only one. You're the only one who hasn't seen Nightmare on Elm Street.
On the face of the earth?
Pretty much. Well, I'm sure there's other young people, like 8-year-olds, that haven't seen it yet, but they will. By the time they're 12, they will have delved into the Nightmare franchise, which apparently is something you didn't do.
No, and I wouldn't let my 12-year-old watch this.
But okay, now you wouldn't know they're watching it. That's when you're 12. That's what.
I knew what my kids were watching when they were 12.
I bet you didn't know all that they were watching.
I knew everything.
I bet you didn't.
I had eyes in the back of my head.
All right, so let me ask you this though. Now, as an adult coming to this movie now, how did it make you feel?
I was still scared.
Like you were scared. I could tell you were scared.
I was scared.
And Gilbert, our dog.
Gilbert, he senses my emotions. And
yeah,
he also was scared.
Gilbert was scared. Gilbert's been watching all these horror movies with us, and Gilbert comes and sits between us.
He does sit between us, and he pants.
But he does watch the movies.
He does.
He is fascinated. I think it probably has to do with the sound effects.
Yeah, and I don't know, like the jump scare stuff, and
well, you always, when you scream, go, ah!
I do. I scream.
You do scream.
And he wants to protect me.
He wants to protect you. So yes.
Okay, so
Freddy Krueger comes
the
out.
way you imitated my scream was too funny. That's not how I scream.
That is how you scream. It goes up and down. It's like a roller coaster.
It's true.
That's how you scream. And you scream exactly the same way. But it gets progressively louder during the film, because you'll do it, and it's only, when it happens, it's amazing. It's pretty amazing. That's one of the joys of watching scary movies with you, is that, oh! I usually get, with good scary movies, I get 3 or 4.
Oh yeah, I'm a screamer. I'm not ashamed that I scream during scary movies. I scream.
So we're not even to Tina's untimely demise.
Right.
Yeah, so it's Freddy Krueger. It's another dream.
He's following her in the alley, and he's tormenting her, and then
we got the great scene where Freddy Krueger has the outstretched arms, with the going down with the fingers and the sparks. I mean, what's so cool about it? A very simple effect. He's probably just Robert Englund's like holding a stick with longer, but because he's walking, it's really effective, and it's in silhouette. And it just goes to show it's surreal, it's weird, but it's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So
chasing her,
and then he starts attacking her,
mm-hmm.
and then cut to
Rod in bed, waking
so
up.
He's on top of her. He's attacking her, and then Rod is in bed asleep, and at his feet are 2 people wrestling under the covers. And he wakes up and freaks out, and he pulls the covers back, and it's just Tina screaming.
And to some of the great kills in horror movie history, Tina rises into the air.
She does.
And she's being slashed and thrown around.
She crawls up onto the ceiling, and it's really creepy.
It's also great. I mean, she's getting eviscerated.
And then she ends up on the bed, and he just
blood is splashing all over
everywhere. And Rod is can't figure out what's going on. He doesn't know how to stop it, and he's screaming. And then Glenn and Nancy come to see what's happening, and by then Tina's dead, and there's blood everywhere.
And Rod is gone.
Rod, he was there for a moment, and he's freaking out, and he runs away. And Tina is dead. Tina's dead. And so then the cops come, and you find out that Nancy's father is the detective.
Nancy's father's not just the detective or the lead sheriff or whatever he is. He's John Saxon. And if you're a Battle Beyond the Stars fan, he was the villain Sador of the Malmori. John Saxon has this long career starring in ungodly amounts of B movies. But what a great choice. He looked the part.
Yeah.
Other than his drugged out, blissed out wife, Ronnie Blakely, who was in Altman's Nashville and who was a singer.
She's crazy.
Apparently she decided not to act. She took she's on Quaaludes this whole movie.
For real?
No, I'm just kidding.
I think she was for real.
Her performance was so. Her face doesn't even look real.
I know, and her skin is weird. Her skin is a weird color. It just doesn't make sense.
I don't know.
Her blondish.
I don't know,
hair.
but You know, she unsettles me.
Yeah, she's.
I'm
yeah,
unsettled by Ronnie Blakely in this
she's
movie.
a strange, and a unique.
She plays
Okay.
Marge. Before Marge Simpson, Ronnie Blakely played Marge the mom in
Oh, she
Nightmare.
was Marge.
Yeah,
She's Marge.
yeah. That's Nancy's mom, Marge.
Oh no, I thought you meant from The Simpsons.
No, she's not. No, she does not do the voice of Marge Simpson. I'm just saying that she was a famous Marge before Marge Simpson came on the scene a few years later.
Right, gotcha. Oh, anyway, where were we?
Well, a lot of
Yeah, so her friend Tina's dead. Nobody seems that concerned. It's so weird.
yeah. There isn't a whole lot of crying in this movie.
It's so weird. Their friends die, and her boyfriend dies, and she's just.
Maybe there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
maybe
there
there's
is.
a reason why everything's just slightly off.
Yeah, everything's off.
So what happens then?
Okay, so
Rod shows up. Heather
Oh.
Langenkamp.
So the next morning, well, first of all, Nancy, does she dream at the point?
You know, the ad line for this movie has one of the great one-sheet movie posters of all time that I actually gave to a friend of mine for her birthday. I'd had it for 30 years, and I gave it to her for her birthday. But the ad line, the poster artwork is great. It's very abstract, kind of. And the ad line, it's one of my favorite horror ad lines ever.
What is it?
If Nancy doesn't wake up screaming, she won't wake up at all. I mean, I miss the days of great ad lines, great taglines. You know what Phantasm's tagline was?
What?
If this one doesn't scare you, you're already dead.
That's great.
Or like Pieces, the movie Pieces. You don't have to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre. I mean, these were heady times. I mean, these movies would come out and like the promise of them. It was like being in front of the red light district windows in Amsterdam. They promised you such joy. I mean, you look at these.
Have you been to Amsterdam?
I have been to Amsterdam.
Oh.
I did not. I was with my wife at the time, so did not partake.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh.
But what I'm saying is when you go to the movie theater and you'd see these movie posters up, like coming soon, and you'd see the unbelievable artwork, the lurid, colorful, they promised so much.
Yeah.
And this poster, the Nightmare on Elm Street original one sheet, is one of the great movie posters of all time as far as modern horror art.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
All of them.
Well, it used to be you'd had to go to the theater to see what was playing, and it would just be the posters, and you'd look at each poster and read the lines and determine which one you wanted to see based on the poster.
Well, the first 5 Nightmare movies, so Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, and Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Yo, 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 what is up? Those movies all have the same artwork, same artist. The posters are great.
Okay, let's get back to our story.
Yeah, sorry, that was an aside.
Yeah, that was a long aside.
Anyway. So, yes, so Rod
All right,
comes.
So Nancy stays up all night because she doesn't want to dream anymore, and she, the next morning, she wants to go to school, and both of her parents are like, "Why are you going to school? What the fuck is wrong with these parents?"
Well, you know, when someone is the victim of a horrible slaughtering in the neighborhood.
Well, yeah, but
You know,
it's
it's
worse. Like Nancy said, like I'd rather stay busy.
Right. Like, it's so...
But the thing is, she gets to school. Okay, so she's on her way to school, and in the bushes on the way to school is Rod, and he grabs her, and...
I didn't do it.
Yeah, and she always believed that he didn't do it. She knew he didn't do it.
She knew it. Well, why would he? By the way, like, where's Gil Grissom and the CSI team to say, like, no teenager could have eviscerated this girl the way she was eviscerated? Like, the blood splatter, all that. How is this done?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
You know what? It really doesn't matter because the kill was so awesome that...
Gil died in L.A., so...
Gil Grissom died?
In the movie
Oh.
that we just...
I know what you're saying.
You didn't get mine?
I was getting your joke. It took me a while. I had to figure it out, but yes, you're right.
Okay, anyway, can we get back to the
Yes,
movie?
sorry. Yes. That was a good callback to our
yeah.
previous episode of whining about movies. So anyway, yes, we're taking a long time.
So Rod says he didn't do it, but her father was following her, and they captured.
They captured him. They knew. John Saxon knew.
Yeah, and she's so mad at her dad. You used me, but she's really not that mad.
She's not that mad.
So she goes to school, and nobody at school seems to care that one of their
yeah, there's not a whole lot of. You'd think it'd be the talk of the school, but yeah, you know.
You think maybe they would everyone have the day off, or I don't know, but nobody seems to care.
No one was a snowflake back then. Kids were much more resilient. They were free-range kids.
It's true, but still, if somebody was murdered,
they didn't need to talk to the school psychologist.
No, it's true. Back then, it was like, toughen up, kid.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, she's in class. She's in her English class. She's so tired that she starts dozing off. And then she looks into the hallway, and it's Tina calling her from a body bag covered in blood.
Again, the surreal nightmare scenes in this movie are great.
Oh, it's so creepy.
They're great. I mean, this movie's great.
And she looks away, and then she looks back, and it's just a puddle of blood. And so then she goes out into the hallway and starts following the blood trail. There's a trail down the hallway, and it turns the corner.
I would do that, though. She doesn't know she's in a waking nightmare. If I found blood, I'd follow the blood.
Are you kidding me?
Well, you know something interesting is going to happen. Why would you go the other way?
Yeah, that you might die.
Yeah, but you don't know that yet. Because they don't understand that Freddy Krueger is alive in their nightmares and dreams.
If there was a trail of blood, you'd follow it.
Yes.
I don't believe that.
Well, I would always follow it.
Anyway.
You always go toward everything. You never run away from anything. You know why? When you run away from everything, your back is turned, and they're going to get you because they're in front of where you're running to.
I always thought about that, too, so I would always look over my shoulder.
Not good enough, because looking over your shoulder, they're in front of you somewhere. You got it.
No.
It's always better to go. Remember, like in The Irishman, if they have a gun, you go for the gun. If they have a knife, you don't go for the knife.
I fell asleep in that movie. Anyway.
I'm just saying.
So she follows the trail. There's a girl telling her she needs a hall pass. And she's like, what fucking hall pass? It's like, what are you talking about? And she keeps walking. And then she turns around and the girl has the fingers.
Surrealism.
And the stripe. The Christmas sweater.
Yes.
Anyway, she turns this corner and there's Freddy Krueger.
There is Freddy Krueger.
And
revealed in the daylight, pretty much.
Yeah.
And what did you think of what were your thoughts? You've seen Freddy Krueger. What were your thoughts now? You're seeing more of him. Did you find like the image of Freddy Krueger? Did you think that was he scary to you now? I mean, 36 years later is the image of Freddy Krueger. He's so iconic. And I dare say one of, you could say, I mean, Michael Myers is iconic, but Freddy has way more personality. Way more personality than Jason. I would say that the biggest horror icons, I mean, if you think about them, you've got Freddy's up there. Might be the GOAT. You've got Jason. You've got Leatherface. The tall man, I'd say, is up there, kind of. I like the tall man. But Freddy Krueger, when you see him, how do you feel about the whole image? The way his hat, his sweater, the knives, how does that make you feel?
He's menacing. It's scary.
Okay, so he's still, but even time has passed. You're now an adult woman. It's still scary to you?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
that means that they were all Robert Englund and Wes Craven and the designers were, because I'm sure it's celebrated his sweater, the colors. I mean, they had to design all that. They had to decide. Okay, here's what the burnt up face. Here's what we're deciding on, and it works. 36 years later, it means they did their job well, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want when you're making a horror film. You want it to be iconic.
I didn't
generation after generation
after generation. I didn't expect
to
be this scared from such an old movie.
Old movie.
It's old.
So when people say old, to me, there's a difference because this was iconic. I mean, it came out in my formative years. I was in high school.
Old doesn't mean bad.
No, but to me, old is like the old Dark House or Bride of Frankenstein, which we did. That's old.
This is still old. Come on, if clothes from the 80s are considered vintage,
all right.
then
By the way,
movies are considered
the clothes from this movie are not that dated.
No.
They didn't go for the which I like. You
Yeah.
watch it now. There's no cell phones. The technology's different. Like,
Well, no, but she did wear like this like vest sweater that we wore in the 80s, and
well, that's true.
and her khaki pants with the you know,
But she's wearing like bloused out stuff. She's not wearing tight pants. You know,
right, which
Nancy was
very 80s.
very 80s. I mean, they weren't. They weren't.
But her hair wasn't sprayed out to here. I mean,
No.
it was curly and crazy, but it wasn't like.
I think it has verisimilitude, Elizabeth.
Yeah, her mom was a little more 80s haircut.
Yeah, her mom was. Well, her mom was blissed out on something.
I kind of liked the white dress she was wearing that at the end. I was like, that's very cool retro.
Was she really wearing that?
I liked it.
Okay.
Like, I would wear that dress.
So this plot, our plot, we're it's taking a long time.
Well, you keep like driving us off on a tangent.
Well, no, I think the philosophy of this stuff, like everybody knows
like
these
I'm
movies.
trying to tell the story, and you keep like, you keep asking me questions.
Well, I think I mean, I'm more interested. Like, we all know the plot.
Do we?
We all know the plot.
Do we all know the
I mean,
plot?
I'm more interested in like how you felt about the movie. How does it work for you? Like seeing it for the first time. You know, the idea of the dreams and realities, and the metaphoric imagery of like, what does Freddy represent to teenagers and all that? Is he really just a killer?
Yeah, well, according to her mom, he was a pedophile killer that the parents decided to kill themselves. Because somehow he evaded the law or got off on a technicality, which doesn't make any sense, but okay.
Well, I mean, I think it's cool. So Freddy Krueger was created. Somehow the tumblers of the universe, when you do something like the scales of justice, even when they were meting out justice and they were right, but somehow hell maybe gave him a second chance. I mean, hey man, you were burned up. You were a child. You shouldn't be burned up because you're a child molesting murderer. I'm going to give you a second chance. You can be a dream demon.
Yeah.
Like, somebody had to make that decision. You ever wonder, when you're watching the movie, like, who granted Freddy Krueger this power? Somebody had to. Like, when he was burned up by the parents, like, who gave him? Was that Satan? Was that maybe God?
Of course it's Satan. It's always Satan.
Is it always Satan?
Yeah.
But Satan was a fallen angel.
Yeah. He's the ultimate evil.
But is he evil? Is Satan really evil?
Yes.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a fallen angel, though.
Okay.
Maybe he knows something we don't and is just misunderstood.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right. Well, anyway, Freddy Krueger exists.
Does he?
And now, well, I'll give you a litany of movies that say so. There's a DVD box set that'll tell you, hey, and there's another one coming out. Freddy Krueger even jumped franchises and fought Jason Voorhees. After Jason Voorhees was in space.
I haven't seen those either.
Well, you know what? That box set's coming. We can have a whole marathon. We can marathon the Friday the 13th movies, which is not what you want to do, really, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think I want to.
But we're going to watch the first one,
Yes.
and you'll be surprised.
It is on our list, isn't it?
Oh, you're going to see it.
Yes, it's on the 19th.
You're going to see it. You will absolutely see the first Friday the 13th, and there will be something about it that's very surprising to you. You're going to say to me at the end, and I'm not going to ask you to say it until we're live on the show. I'm going to be like, Elizabeth, when we watched this Friday the 13th movie, when we got to the end of it, there's something very interesting that you're going to tell me about what you didn't understand about the first Friday the 13th movie. Watch, I'm saying it right now.
Why are you even saying that right now?
Just saying.
Because now I'm going to be like paying attention to whatever it is.
Doesn't matter. You won't know. You're going to watch it and you're going to say to me, but I'm going to make you say it on the show. You're going to be like, you know what I found interesting about the first Friday the 13th? And I'll say, what, Elizabeth? And you'll say to me this one thing that all of the viewers know right now what you're going to say, having never seen the movie. Don't say it in the chat. Don't tell her what she doesn't know about the first Friday the 13th movie. Don't do it. Don't say it. Nope, nope, nope. But you will say it. You're going to say, you know what I didn't know? That's what you're going to say.
What, that it's Mike Myers?
No, that's Halloween.
Oh.
No, we don't cross the streams.
He's Halloween. He's in Halloween?
Michael Myers is Halloween, dear.
I didn't know.
Have you ever seen Halloween?
No.
You've never seen Halloween?
No.
You've never seen the Halloween... Like, really?
Like, really?
You don't know that Michael Myers is wearing a mask of William Shatner in Halloween?
No. Really?
Yes. Wow, now I'm embarrassed. Well, anyway, we're gonna find all this out this October. We're gonna make sure that you understand all this.
Though. Halloween isn't on the list.
Halloween is not on the list, but apparently it should be. That's embarrassing. I guess we're gonna have to have a special. We're gonna have to have a special. The Education of Elizabeth Gwendolyn Bell, the arbiter of cinematic excellence. Apparently, doesn't go all the way into the horror realm. That's okay.
Yeah, I didn't watch horror.
I know, but now you love horror.
I do.
Okay, so now Nightmare on Elm Street. Where are we?
Are we continuing with the plot, or because you seem to want to just talk about it?
Well, I think people like hearing about the full out. Like, what do we think about these movies? Like, they all know the plot. Like I think it was a mistake for us. I know Dieter Bastian loves it when we stumble over the plot.
Yeah, but see, going over the plot helps me think about the movie.
Okay, well then continue.
That's okay. I don't even know where we are.
Well, I mean, so Nancy gets brought further, and she's having these nightmares. She's in bathtubs, and Freddy Krueger's hand comes up between her legs.
She keeps trying not to fall asleep. Her parents keep telling her to go to sleep, even though at one point her mother takes her to a sleep lab, and they witness her being attacked in a nightmare, but yet her mother keeps insisting that she go to sleep. Like, you're crazy lady.
And then she has Glenn, you gotta come watch me.
Yeah, Glenn is the only one who she can count on, except she can't because he always falls asleep.
He falls asleep, and poor Glenn, what happens to poor Johnny Depp in this movie?
It's
one of the
horrific.
What I love about this film is it works on nightmare logic, the same way that Phantasm did, although I would say that this movie's a little bit more coherent than Phantasm in terms of its logic. And we understand that, okay, there are basically rules. You fall asleep, you're going to be in these dreams. Now, I don't quite understand how the physics work with Glenn's death.
I don't either.
But, man, what happens to poor old Glenn?
So Glenn, Freddy decides that he's going to be Nancy's boyfriend and tries to kiss her through the phone. And
wasn't that great?
And the phone wasn't even plugged in.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. And then he goes and gets Glenn and sucks him through the bed.
And not only does he suck him through the bed, in one of the great deaths.
Blood just I don't think one human being could have that much blood. I mean, the blood is just pouring out, and it doesn't stop. It's just pouring out, pouring out, pouring out.
But as an audience member, wasn't that fun? Like when you see the kills. When I was a kid, they didn't call.
Yeah, but at that point, it's like, okay, this is a little silly.
What?
It was a little silly. It wasn't scary.
You didn't think it was scary?
No, it was kind of goofy.
Kind of goofy?
Yeah.
You mean a tongue coming out of the phone isn't goofy?
Yeah, that's a little goofy. Those are all goofy. And from then on, the movie gets a little goofy.
Why does the movie get a little goofy?
Because at the beginning, it's really scary.
I mean, I don't disagree with you.
The kills are really scary, but then once he starts sticking his tongue out of the phone, and then he goes and gets Glenn, and Glenn is sucked in the bed, and all this blood is gushing out, it gets goofy. That's goofy.
I can understand that. So do you think that as it moved along, that the scare factor was diminished for you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. Even when at the end, when he's chasing her, when she gets him out of the dream, and she set up all those traps like Home Alone.
Yeah, she Home Aloned it before Home Alone.
She Home Aloned it. They must have got it from there. that part was goofy too. With the hammer that comes down.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I mean, the Rube Goldbergian traps that she sets up.
Yeah.
And Freddie wants to be her girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, and all of that, and and Nancy gets drawn in, and people die around her and all that, but it becomes a fantasy.
Yeah.
What I like about this.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad that it became goofy, but it just plays up the idea that it's a dream.
Right.
Because dreams can be scary one minute and can be really goofy the next minute.
But I mean, what I find interesting about this movie is it starts very seriously.
It does.
And then it moves into more of a dark fantasy realm, because I don't think, once you know that he was a child molester and the parents burned him alive, and it's like that's a ghost story element that we've seen in so many movies, like in The Fog, the townspeople luring the ship to crash on the rocks. And
yeah, but at that point, like, I found it hard to believe that all those parents would go and burn this guy.
Well, he was molesting their children. You wouldn't.
Yeah, but see, she's telling her daughter, we killed this guy because he was murdering and molesting the kids in our neighborhood. How come Nancy didn't know about it? These must have been her friends.
Well, no, because it was when they were younger, like they were babies.
Okay.
But you're probably right. I mean, maybe. But, well, clearly they do, because everyone knows the nursery rhyme. They all know 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. They all know that.
Right, that's true.
They all know it. So it was a story that everybody knows, but she didn't know her own parents were involved in this nursery rhyme about this crazy killer that was part of the town lore. They didn't know that their parents were involved.
But was her cop father involved in that?
Hell yeah, he was. I mean, if you're going to murder a child molesting pedophile, I mean, that's what a pedophile is, a murdering pedophile, you need a cop to cover it up to make sure that no one knows that the fire wasn't deliberately set, to make it look like an accident.
So she stores the glove in the furnace?
Okay, well, there's some nightmare logic, you got to go with it.
Yeah, I guess it's all dreams. So, yeah, okay. It doesn't have to make sense.
But and then...
So wait, if this is all Nancy's dream...
Well, let's get to that.
How would she know that information? Unless her mother told her outside of a dream.
Well, what's really interesting is that if this movie is all... Do you think this movie is all a dream? I mean, let's talk about the end of this movie.
Well, yeah, because at the end, she tells him that she knows it's all a dream and she wants to see her friends again. Next morning, her and her mom, who was murdered, in the dream.
In the dress you like.
No, it's after she's wearing the white dress. It's okay. So, her and her mom...
It was the morning.
The morning of, yeah.
Yeah, that's when she's wearing the white dress.
Wearing the white dress.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That you like.
She's with her mom. Everyone's fine. Everyone's normal. Like, nothing happened. And her friends pull up in a convertible. And,
everybody. Rod, Tina, Glenn.
Everybody.
They're there.
Nobody's dead. They're all there. She gets in the car and the hood goes up.
And it's Freddy Krueger's sweater.
It's, red and green striped, and the windows roll up and everything, and they're not controlling that, and the car just leaves with all of them.
And Ronnie Blakely, in her blissed out state, gets pulled through the...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Just like Mike gets pulled through the mirror into the closet in Phantasm. So This was a trope, this nightmare ending. I mean, I don't know. It eludes me where it began, but I can tell you, classically, Carrie, the end of Carrie, where Carrie White grabs Amy Irving's hand at the end. So there's that. Phantasm, boy. And then there's the end of this.
Yeah.
And Friday the 13th. Well, I can't tell you.
It's also a dream?
Not a dream. However, definitely fits into this realm
Are
of...
there aliens in Friday?
They're not aliens in Friday the 13th. But the endings of these, which I think is... I liked these endings, but it's also a way, it's a quick way to not have to explain the unexplainable. Like, is this whole movie a dream? Do you think this whole movie's a dream, or did it happen?
Well, I mean, it's obviously a dream. The whole thing's a dream.
But as we know in the
it's
sequels...
dreams within dreams within dreams.
Sure. You know who would have loved this movie? Leonardo DiCaprio's character Dom from Inception. Maybe all of this, in fact, is it's Inception. Somebody placed this dream.
This is the precursor to Inception.
You never know.
I think this inspired Inception.
I don't know about that, but I can't imagine.
It was dreams within dreams within dreams.
It's true. It is dreams within dreams within dreams. So, yeah. So, but now I ask you, what did you think of this movie, though, overall? I mean, it started out scary for you, but did you like it?
I did like it.
It's very likable.
I did like it.
It's a lot of fun.
Even though it got goofy at the end, I still liked it.
Right. Now, as far as horror films go, now there are different kinds, different genres of horror films, and now we're in this period of time where we're either seeing a lot of ghost stories, Conjuring,
yeah.
Insidious.
I love the ghost stories.
You love the ghost stories, and it's interesting, but the mad killer, the slasher movies are kind of gone.
Yeah.
Because it was really played out, like how scary real life is more scary when you have ISIS beheading people on video and on YouTube. Who cares if there's a slasher in your neighborhood? You're like, oh yeah, well, yeah, that's okay. So the idea of slashers has gone away, but the idea of nightmares haven't.
Right. I
mean, I do like the classical, how, like the movie I was talking about today, The Wretched, which has a witch. We've had the resurgence of witch movies, whether they're period witch movies like Robert Eggers' The Witch, which is great. I love, you'll have to watch The Wretched. It's really good.
Okay.
I like The Wretched. You'll love it.
The Ritual. On our list.
No, it is not on our list. The Ritual, the Netflix film. So we're these classical witch creature films. It's all coming back around. Ari Aster doing Hereditary, which we saw. Again, the realism of Hereditary. But at the end, it gets goofy. These worshipers, they're right.
It does get goofy.
Whoever they're worshiping is there. There's a, whether it's Satan or not. Yep. That entity is real. So let me ask you this. Do you think this movie has anything to say to audiences today? I mean, obviously you're watching it now, and I think good horror films transcend the time that they're made.
Yeah.
But is in this day and age where life, in our post 9/11 world, does Freddy Krueger have a place? Does he belong?
Sure. I don't see why not.
All right.
I mean, if you like watching horror films, why wouldn't you watch this one?
Well, what I mean is, in a world where Hereditary exists and the Insidious movie exists and The Conjuring, that plays it straight. They're putting real people, paranormal activity.
I don't think because the genre has changed over time that it eliminates or cancels older films.
Well, that's what I was asking you. I was asking your opinion.
But I don't think that would...
I mean, what I'm saying is, like, if you showed this movie to your daughters,
I think they
would they be scared by it?
I think they would have the same reaction to me, scared at first and then not so scared at the end.
You don't think they would get too caught up in the 80s period garb and the hair?
I mean, they might a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
But I don't know. Once they've gotten a little older, they're more open to watching older films and enjoying them for what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie, do you know, A Nightmare on Elm Street was made for less than $2 million.
Nice.
And it grossed almost $60 million. And for New Line Cinema, when we watched...
It's interesting because it did have some special effects and stuff in it.
No, it did. But back then, movies like this, you could make a theatrically released film for less than $2 million, and your return on it was enormous. I mean, this was a gigantic hit for New Line Cinema.
Yeah.
And it was...
Well, I remember all my friends watched it. And,
oh, yeah.
I mean,
a gigantic
years after
hit.
that, everyone, would wear the mask for Halloween and stuff like that.
I have like multiple Freddy Krueger action figures.
Where is he?
He's upstairs in a box.
That's not cool. We need to free Freddy Krueger.
We will free Freddy. Freddy Krueger is not in his original box.
Well, we still need to free him.
Well, we will.
So we can all have nightmares.
And I have multiple iterations of him and Jason.
Well, we should free them both.
And Leatherface, to be honest.
Okay, let's free them all.
We'll free them all. We'll free them all. They're free. They're roaming. They're free range figures, so they're out there somewhere.
So you don't even know where they are.
They're in a box upstairs.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
Are you positive?
I'm positive. I absolutely positive. Now, we have an incredible letter.
Okay.
It's a very long letter, but it's a pretty incredible letter about one man's experience with the entire Friday the 13th franchise. Now, I think what's really interesting about this letter is I think that it's from Philip Alvarez. And I think Philip Alvarez speaks for many of us. First of all, I want to say to Philip, thank you for writing this letter, because I love hearing about people's journeys through fandom. Like, how did you become a fan? When did you first see these things? And this is a really great one of those letters. So this is from Philip Alvarez. Hello again, Rob, Liz, and the fellow Post-Geek Singularity community. It should have been expected I would be sending in another letter, since the show decided to cover the movie that introduced my horror BFF, Freddy Krueger. What I love the most about Freddy is that while Jason and Michael were silent killers, Freddy was not afraid to talk a little trash to his victims. To me, he became a master manipulator, and later in the series a bit of a wisecracking one. I'm not sure who deserves full credit, but I'm positive Robert Englund was allowed to ad-lib in a genius way, in my opinion. Forgive me if I sound a bit biased, but I believe, unlike many other horror franchises, all of the Elm Streets are pretty solid entries. I would agree with that, actually, Philip. Not one is bad or worse than the previous ones. Yes, even the second one. Each entry also had a different director, and only its creator, Wes Craven, returned a second time exactly 10 years later with New Nightmare, which was, to me, the first meta horror film. I showed you the trailer for that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that's what got Craven the job of directing Scream, which is probably, you're absolutely right. Now allow me to reveal a shocking twist. The movie featured here tonight wasn't even the first Elm Street film I watched. That movie would be Dream Warriors Part 3. By the way, Part 3 fucking rules. I saw it in theaters with my next-door neighbor, who is a massive horror buff, and introduced me to so many other horror films in the future. We also watched Elm Streets 4 and 5 in the theater. Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, was the very first movie I saw when I moved to LA in the theater. So needless to say, my introduction to Freddy was when he was already the wisecracking villain. This was definitely the reason why he became my favorite horror icon. For the life of me, I honestly don't remember when I first saw the original Elm Street. I do remember catching Freddy's Revenge Part 2 on TV, but it ended up being heavily edited, and I did not care for it at first. Later, after finally watching it unedited, I saw why the film... Later, after finally watching it unedited, I saw why the first time it was heavily edited. I would have been far too young at the time to understand the homoerotic undertones of the movie, and it has now become known for. I do appreciate Part 2, however, for the makeup effects, and the transformation scene was very well done. It really was. I just think the ending made Freddy look weak. Both Craven and Englund have said this is not their favorite in the series because of the ending. In the earlier Elm Streets, what I love is how Freddy isn't even really the central character. In the original, it's Nancy and her friends. In the second, it's Jesse, his family, and a couple of friends. In the third, we see the return of an adult Nancy and a new group of teens in an asylum. Much of the characters from the third return to the fourth one as well. The first time the series has a direct sequel, and it would remain that way until the fifth one. These were characters who you genuinely liked and sympathized with, and when one dies or ends up being one of the survivors. I do appreciate the fourth for not only being the most violent entry, but it introduced more fantasy elements and showed Freddy was vulnerable. Dream Master is also the funniest of the franchise. This was the movie that my Freddy poster came from. I tried to find it online to share on here, but I was unable to. When it comes to the fifth entry, The Dream Child, I find it to be one of the more creative ones in the series. Him trying to use his nemesis from the fourth movie and her unborn child to return to life fascinated me. It also has my favorite death scene, the motorcycle one, which is amazing. I was on set while they filmed that. It's more serious in tone than the fourth one, but as it still has a few wisecracks from Freddy, I didn't care. Now, I know what y'all are thinking. Come on, man. Are you holding out your BFF Freddy? You seem to sympathize more with the other characters and not root for Freddy. No, sir, I am most certainly not. As to my enjoyment, the sixth and supposedly final installment, Freddy's Dead, focuses solely on Freddy himself and acts as a sort of origin story. Not to mention, shock rocker Alice Cooper plays Freddy's father. This is the one film where the other characters didn't matter to me at all. We even find out what gives Freddy his powers. We also find out what made him become Freddy. I thought it was done quite well, but the premise is a bit silly at times to me. Why it took 6 films, I have no idea. It still has some creative death scenes, and I did love the 3D sequence. The twist, which I won't reveal, is satisfying and true to the series. I also got a kick out of the tribute at the end with the best scenes from the franchise. Now, as I had mentioned earlier how Wes Craven would return to the very franchise he created 10 years later in 1994 with New Nightmare, the movie is by far the most creative entry in the series. It asked the question, what if Freddy Krueger actually existed in the real world? Even the look of Freddy in the movie was more realistic. I love how the stars of the films are playing themselves, even Craven plays himself. The movie also has some pretty creative death scenes and even recreates the famous wall crawling run from the original film. Craven most certainly went balls out on New Nightmare, and I'm not sure if it's an homage or a big FU because of all the sequels. I believe it's the former, honestly. How many people know that Freddy had his own TV show that ran for 2 seasons from 1988 to 1990? I do, because I pitched some stories to it when I first moved to LA. I wouldn't be much of a horror BFF not knowing that, would I? It was called Freddy's Nightmares, and it was an anthology series like Tales from the Crypt. Freddy would introduce the stories. The funny thing about the first season was that it was aired fairly early in the day. I honestly don't remember much about the series. None of the episodes are particularly memorable. The second season, I know, was moved to a much later time because of complaints from early Karens. I had lost interest anyway, but later found out it aired in the middle of the night. Still, it was cool to see my horror BFF get a series. I wouldn't mind finding some old episodes now and watching them again. Maybe they're on YouTube somewhere. Over the years, I'd begun to hear wind of a crossover movie with Friday the 13th. This was because fans noticed at the end of Jason Goes to Hell, forgive me, spoilers, the Freddy glove snatches Jason's mask from under the ground. As a fan of both franchises, this got me excited. But it went through many scripts and changes over the years, and it would take 10 years, 12 years for Freddy, though, before it was released, finally. In 2003, the movie Freddy vs. Jason was released. I saw this in theaters, and I was smiling from ear to ear the entire movie. 25-year-old me felt like the 9-year-old who first saw Dream Warriors. While the story was quite creative, the audience didn't give a damn about the characters. We just wanted to see the 2 horror icons fight. I loved every minute of this movie, and not only was the fight scene great, it was awesome seeing Freddy talk trash and manipulate Jason. That's the horror BFF I know and love. There's been a debate on who won, but I feel it was the horror buffs who really won, since the movie was a huge hit. Unfortunately, as I mentioned in my last letter, we got a remake of Elm Street in 2010. I did like the look of Freddy, as it was supposedly based on how real burn victims look. Jackie Earle Haley was also fine as Freddy, but the movie had no humor and no wisecracks, so the less said about this movie, the better. It's blasphemy. In conclusion, I would like to recommend any fan of this series like myself to watch a great documentary called Never Sleep Again. It talks about every single movie in the Elm Street franchise and features many of the original cast members from the films as well. Some great insight and behind-the-scenes features, so I thank you once again, Rob, Elizabeth, and the fellow Post-Geek Singularity community for allowing me to share my appreciation of horror, BFF, Freddy Krueger, and the Elm Street franchise. Take care and be safe. Happy Halloween. That comes from Philip Alvarez. Well, Philip, this is exactly the kind. Don't you love getting letters like this?
That was a great letter.
That was a great letter, right? You hear somebody's whole experience going through the whole.
I love that he considers Freddy Krueger his BFF.
Let's drink to Philip Alvarez and his love of Freddy Krueger, and to Freddy Krueger his horror BFF. Do you have a horror BFF?
Yes, I do.
You do? Mm-hmm. Do you love him as much as Philip Alvarez loves Freddy Krueger?
I do.
Who is your horror BFF? Me? Oh, Black Phillip.
Black Phillip. I love Black Phillip.
I don't think anyone... My Black Phillip Dark Roast coffee shirt. I love this shirt. You know, it's one of those shirts I was like, oh, I have to buy that.
Black Phillip is my favorite.
Black Phillip.
He's my BFF.
He is Black Phillip. You know, I'm waiting. I don't know if Black Phillip. He's only had one movie. He's so like exclusive. He's so unknowable. Black Phillip.
Well, you know, he is Satan, so he has to stay mysterious.
I like Black Phillip because he likes to live deliciously.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to live deliciously. That's kind of my motto in life. It took a long time for someone who shared my worldview. I didn't even know what it was until Black Phillip said it. Live deliciously.
Live deliciously.
Black Phillip is a great horror icon. Let's see if anybody...
Who's your horror BFF?
My horror BFF, well, is Satan. I have to say, you know, whether it's The Devil's Advocate, I'm a fan of man. I'm a humanist. Whether it's Rosemary's Baby, Satan comes up and rapes Mia Farrow and puts his seed inside of her, and she gives birth to his spawn. Whether he's reborn as Damien in the Omen saga.
I can see that.
Whether he possesses... I'd like to believe that he was possessing Linda Blair in The Exorcist. Race with the devil. Look, if I wasn't working in movies, I would probably want to be in a satanic cult, to be honest.
Oh my God.
I would love to be like the I don't know what even the head of a satanic cult is called, but if I could be like the head of a satanic cult, like in The Devil's Reign, like Ernest Borgnine in The Devil's Reign or something, or like The Devil Rides Out, the great Hammer film, The Devil Rides Out. Wouldn't it be cool? Like you could front for the devil. It'd be great.
I'm sorry, I can't join with you.
You can't. And what about Sympathy? The Rolling Stones. You'd have a great theme song.
No.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. Come on.
No.
I mean, those are some great lyrics.
No.
And so many people would know me. There's a Netflix show. Netflix got a network show and brought it on Netflix about me, my favorite BFF, Lucifer.
About you? Well,
No, I mean about
you're Satan?
I am not Satan.
I hope not.
I'm not. But you asked me who my horror BFF is. I think Satan trumps all. Satan could wipe the floor with Freddy, with Jason, with Michael Myers, with even Pinhead. Pinhead thinks he's, Lord of the Realm, but if Satan shows up, it's like,
Satan
bruh.
is, he is evil.
He is evil. He is evil.
And that's who Black Phillip is, by the way.
Black Phillip is Satan. I believe that. Slumming, but
slumming.
Slumming.
No.
I think so. Let's see who is here. Who's around today? Bunyan Snipe became a member. And Philip Alvarez, whose letter we just wrote, Philip says, as much as I love the film, the acting from the mother is atrocious.
Terrible.
Laugh out. I think all the mothers are kind of bad. They're not good.
All the mothers are bad. Maybe they were all on drugs.
Justin Toner sends in a tip and says, hi, Rob and Elizabeth. Nightmare on Elm Street is one of my favorite horror films. Johnny Depp's death scene blew my mind as a kid. The only sequel I think that's as good as the first film is 3, Dream Warriors, because Nancy comes back and the plot is well done. Cheers. I agree. Dream Warriors rules. It's really, really good. And the fantasy sequences, it has one of my favorite... I don't want to tell you. One day we'll watch it. It's great. Timula is here. Tim the Spider Monkey says, in her high school days, my girlfriend was the spitting image of Heather Langenkamp in this movie, but she probably had an Australian accent, which made her even cuter. It's spooky how similar they looked. I wonder if that's why I have such a special place in my heart for this movie. I often call her Nancy, and she hates it. I hope you don't call her Nancy at inopportune moments, if you know what I'm saying, because I don't know if that would be so good. Ricky Burnett is here. Ace, you are not the only one. I have never seen any of these movies except The Exorcist.
See?
I walked home 15 miles in the absolute dark on an old country road after seeing The Exorcist. I never went to a horror movie after this. To this day. Well, Ricky, you know what? You got the right last name, but let me tell you, The Exorcist is still the GOAT for me. It's the greatest of all time.
Now that we're home, and now it's time. Now it's time. Time to watch horror.
Damo Davies sends in a tip and says, Wes Craven chose the red and the green for the sweater because he read that those were the two colors hardest to process next to each other. And in the original movie, the sweater, his arms had solid red arms, but had green stripes in the sequels. Oh, interesting. That means what Dan was talking about is photochemically, because movies back then were shot on film, were the most difficult to process next to each other. That's really interesting. I didn't know that. Damo Davies goes on to say, the whole movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street, is a dream. The jump rope girls who sing and open and close the movie only appear in the dreams. Ooh. So does that mean that in the town they don't know 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you? Very interesting. Damo Davies goes on to say, Robert Englund's agent tried to haggle for their client for Freddy's revenge for a better deal, which the producers didn't want to pony up the cash, so they recast with a stuntman. They regretted that decision and rehired Englund a few days later. Goddamn right they should have. Damo Davies goes on to say, you will notice in the movie that that Englund is hunched to one side as the weight of the glove was a lot in the handle. Subtle but an effective choice, which had more impact on the genre. Oh, okay, this is a good one. Question. Damo says, which had more impact on the genre? Wes Craven's Scream movies or A Nightmare on Elm Street? That's a good question. You know, I think that I would have to say that A Nightmare on Elm Street was huge, but in terms of impact on the genre, which you're asking, A Nightmare on Elm Street was the culmination of a lot of things that had been previously put forth. There were a lot of horror movies about dreams, and there were a lot of slasher films, and it combined the two. And it was sort of the end of a cycle, and it ended it in grand fashion. But Scream, the sort of self-aware horror, the hipper than thou, we're too cool for school, I think Scream, after it had come out, has an influence. The idea of dreams and dream monsters is sort of gone away, but I think the way Scream resonates, even today, it might be more impactful as far as the genre is concerned. Whereas I think Nightmare on Elm Street worked within established genre tropes, just mashing them together. Scream created a new one, that of the self-reflexive horror film. But you could say that New Nightmare, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which might have started that idea. So, interesting.
Yes.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Timbula the Spider Monkey goes on and says, I mentioned The Town That Dreaded Sundown the other day, and you asked if you could get it on Blu-ray. I know there is an Australian release by a company called Cinema Cult. I think there was a Scream Factory release, but I'm not sure if it's still available. Oh, you can get anything. I'll get that. Michael Preston sends in a super chat and says, the only jump scare for me in this movie was the end when Freddy jumps out from behind the bed. Loved it. Love you both. P.S. Review The Hills Run Red.
Oh, I've never seen it.
She's never watched The Hills Run Red.
I've never seen it.
I don't think I could review The Hills Run Red. You know what would be interesting, though? I think we could do a whining about movies where I couldn't say anything. But it would be really interesting to hear you talk about The Hills Run Red, and then I could bring Dave Parker on.
Yeah.
And you could ask us questions about making the movie. What about that?
Yeah, but what if I don't like the movie? That would be really hard to talk.
Well, I don't know. That's a really good question. What if you didn't like the movie?
Yeah, what if I don't like it? Do I have to pretend like I like it?
No. You can still ask us questions about the movie. You'd be like, yeah, this movie kind of sucked. Couldn't you have made it better?
I would never say that. How could I say that?
Well, you don't have to say it that way. You could be like, you made this choice, but couldn't the choice have been better? Like, couldn't you have made it better?
Think about it.
Michael Preston, that's not a bad idea. Like Tom Jr. Jackson, member of the Post-Geek Singularity, an official member, is here. That's good to see. Damo Davies says, do you prefer the American one-sheet poster for the original movie or the British one-sheet? Oh, I've seen the British one-sheet. I much prefer the American version. I had the British. It's actually a British quad that I had. I much prefer the American poster to the British. That's not always the case. But as far as the one sheet goes, I much prefer that poster. Damo Davies goes on to say, Wes Craven co-wrote and produced Dream Warriors Part 3 with Bruce Wagner, Frank Darabont, and Chuck Russell, the director. Do you think Wes should direct the third movie, and would it have been better? I don't know, man. The third movie's really good. I don't know if I would say it would be better. I don't know. You haven't seen it, so you would know.
I haven't seen. This is the only one I've seen.
I mean, I really like the third movie. Chuck Russell went on to direct The Blob, the remake of The Blob, that I think is pretty good. He also directed Eraser, if memory serves, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Now that I think about it, yeah, I don't know. I think that Chuck Russell's direction added some verve, some because it has the epic, the big fantasy sequences bigger than the other two Nightmare on Elm Street films. I think it might have benefited by his direction. It was a different way to go. So, we are way over time.
Yes, we are.
So, we have our bottoms up scale. Elizabeth, what is our bottoms up scale?
Our bottoms up scale is from 1 to 4 glasses because there are 4 glasses of wine in a bottle.
4 glasses of wine in a bottle. And on a scale of 1 to 4 glasses of wine, what would you give A Nightmare on Elm Street?
I think I will give it 3 glasses of wine.
3 glasses of wine. I'm going to go a little further. I'm going to give it 3.25 glasses of wine. I think, it even when I saw it the first time, I really liked it. It's really enjoyable. But it didn't, oh, look at that. Someone's calling. When my phone's close to my computer, like, who would call? Apparently someone is calling that isn't watching this show. Who's not watching this show? I mean,
Shame.
Apparently you're not that good of a friend of mine. It's probably the cops.
It's probably a bill collector.
Yeah, it's a bill collector or something. What? Anyway, so there we go. So, do you know what our next movie is?
Yes.
It's The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yes. Yeah, I chose that.
I know you chose it. Now, why did you choose it?
It's a romance.
It is a romance, kind of. I love The Autopsy of Jane Doe. I think it's a fantastic film.
It's great.
It's great, right?
I really love that film. Very scary.
That'll be Saturday night.
Saturday night.
The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. Are you interested in seeing the other Nightmare on Elm Street sequels?
I am. I do. I want to see them.
Yeah. They're good. Mm-hmm. You'll enjoy them.
I think so.
All right. Well, somebody's calling me again.
Should we answer?
I could answer.
But you don't know who it is.
I don't know who it is. It's a number. Unless it's like, it could be like the police calling for us, your kids or something.
What?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
They would call me.
213. You never know.
213 is where?
It's downtown LA. It's regular LA. 213 is the main area code. All right. Well, so Elizabeth, what are you looking forward to on our list? There's things you haven't seen. You don't know what to look forward to. Most of the things you haven't seen.
I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Are you looking forward to seeing Friday the 13th for the first time?
Yes, I am. I really am.
Do you know what this means?
No.
No. Well, you will. They'll know. You know who I can actually get on the show?
Who?
Harry Manfredini.
You should.
Harry Manfredini is the composer who did the music. I can get him on the show. Maybe we could have our first guest. I could get Harry Manfredini for, assuming he has a computer. I mean, I don't know if he can do it, but he's a good friend of Gabe's.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I could have him come on the show. Our first whining about movies guest. And if we did Hills Run Red, you'd have the first.
It wouldn't be our first guest. We had Claude on the show.
Oh, we had Claude. Yeah, but I mean, celebrity guest who actually made a movie. Claude was great, but Claude's like one of us. He's one of us. I mean, he's part of the community. but I mean our outside professional guest who's actually worked on a film. I don't mean to denigrate Claude's contribution, because that was great. But I mean somebody who actually made... I think that'd be really cool, because it's such an iconic... You'll know. You'll see. Anyway. All right, then.
Okay.
Tim says it's... Everybody does it differently. It's whatever you want it to be, says Philip Alvarez. All right, then. I guess we have to go feed the dogs.
Yes, we do.
All right, then. So take us out.
Yes, everyone you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear.
Without that, you said that with conviction. It should be. And now, wait.
Well, I was distracted because the camera is not switched over.
Well, you should tell me. You can say, "Hey, director, can you switch the camera?" Yes. Look at us. I'm switching the camera over. So you got to look into the camera and go.
Okay.
Just saying.
You didn't like my performance?
It was a little lackluster, to be honest. I would ask for a take 2.
Okay.
And I'm getting one right now from you.
Take two. Okay.
Hang on. Sound speeding. Action.
Everyone you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear, and all you have to do is listen.
And with that,
have a better night.
Have a better night.
How'd I do?
I think you did good. That was good.
Thank
That
you.
was good. I think you did well. I want to say thank you to our moderating staff. I want to say thanks to Mike Bodden. I want to say thanks to Greg Smith. I want to say thanks to the Richard. And the Richard, obviously, you can find him over at the Post-Geek Singularity Facebook page. He's always showing, he's having Zoom parties. He's showing these movies before and after we watch these things. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to the horror genre. Mr. Derringer is one of our moderators. He's here. Joshua Levesque is here. We have a great moderating staff. I never know exactly who's here, but I think I got everybody. I think I got everyone. We have the greatest moderating staff on YouTube, so thank you to them. And Autopsy of Jane Doe. And after Autopsy of Jane Doe, we have Rosemary next week. Rosemary's Baby, Let the Right One In, and The Hunger. Tony Scott's 1983 debut that opens with Bauhaus singing. Well, Peter Murphy from Bauhaus singing. Daniel Ashton, David J. playing. Bela Lugosi's Dead, which is kind of, to me, the goth Stairway to Heaven. But there you go. So we've got a great lineup for next week. We've got 2 movies with kids.
Oh.
Actually, and a third movie where a kid gets killed, which is great, because she deserved to die. She played violin as a teenager.
She deserved to die.
No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so there you go. It's coming up. So that's our next Autopsy of Jane Doe, Rosemary's Baby, Let the Right One In, and The Hunger.
Yep.
So, as always, what?
Have a better night.
Have a better night. And stay scared, as George Romero would say. Mm-hmm.